This
of
conference
PGDIT,
will now be recorded.
Diploma Information Technology, Certified Information System Auditor CISA, Diploma in Information System Audit, that is DISA. He is an ISO 2017 lead auditor and Diploma in Cyber Laws with over 15 years of analytic and diversified experience in the field of information security and information system audits. He specializes in information security consultancy services and information system audits in India and abroad. He has worked with all the regulators in India for carrying out system audits of critical infrastructure of national importance. He has worked with a reputed software company for 2 years in implementation of an ERP package, that is MFG Pro, for multinational companies. He was the president of ICACA Mumbai chapter 2016-2018. He is a regular faculty at the DISA and CISA course from last 6 years. He tries to return a beat to the profession by visiting and addressing various programs connected by SBI and ICACA Mumbai chapter. So, we have found him as a good leader and presenter for today's subject. So, with this, I request Pranav Bhai to take his subject. Thank you, sir. Pranay Bhai, please take his subject. Thank you, sir. You can start.
Thank you very much, Bhavin Bhai, for the introduction. I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible. Your video is not much clear.
Video is not clear. Okay, anyway, so the screen is more important. So we'll start with the presentation rather than looking at me. So
yes, you can add the people.
okay, so you are able to view the presentation?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can start. I'm muting all. I'm muting all. Okay, sir. You can start.
Okay. Okay. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this presentation on cyber security and data protection during this COVID-19 break that we have got. So what we are going to do today is basically I will take you through the different kinds of frauds that are happening because of this lockdown or because of this issue that is surrounding us, and very small ways of how we can protect ourselves, how we can protect our data, how we can protect our family members from these kind of attacks or these kind of frauds that are happening in the environment. Now, this disease has not only got us into our home, it has also got people to work from home. It has got people to rethink their business strategy and how to work, how to continue their business in this kind of a situation. And so it has also got a lot of opportunity for the fraudsters to make some money out of this entire process. So very quickly, even before we could think, they have started thinking and devised new ways of making some money into this entire business. So we'll see all that, how they are making money and how we can protect ourselves from them. Okay. So before I start, there is a small disclaimer. So everybody, all auditors give a disclaimer. I am also an auditor, so I will also give my disclaimer. So this is made on a best effort basis. This entire presentation. There is no warranty, or the organizer should not be held responsible for anything that I talk today. They are my views, and they do not represent the views of the organizer. So I have used various logos of various companies throughout the presentation. So logos, domain names, all copyright service marks are of the registered vendors, and I am not promoting any particular vendor. I am not promoting any particular technology or any particular system. I have just used them for representation purposes so that there is a recall and people are able to understand what I am trying to say. So based on my presentation, if you take any actions or you perform not to take any actions, you are doing at your own risk. our speaker, that is me, will not be held responsible for actions that you have taken based on this presentation. Okay, so small disclaimer that we have given. Okay, so now what has this COVID-19 brought to us? Okay. There is a big surge in the social media activity. We are all sitting at home, logging onto Twitter, logging onto Facebook, logging onto various other social media platforms. Some are voicing their opinions, some are just reading the opinions, but everybody some time or the other is logging onto social media to see what is happening. There is a surge in online meeting and events, something like this, what we are doing today. A lot of meetings, lot of company meetings, lot of organization meetings, lot of events, lot of online sessions, seminars, all have gone online. There is also big surge in the download of mobile apps, games, gaming apps, because now even children are at home. They also need games to play. The bigger people also have started playing a lot of games because they have a lot of free time. So a lot of downloads in games, apps, various apps for maybe for dating apps, chatting apps, or any other app that they want to use. Increase in the online activities like movies or watching movies on YouTube or downloading of movies or even online courses for children, online courses for even bigger people like us, some professional courses, some courses that we would like to complete online. Increase in online banking now because we cannot move out of the house physically or so there's a lot of increase in online banking. Online news consumption, so we are all reliant on news to see what is happening in the world, what is happening apart from TV. We also like to see what is happening. So there is a lot of online news consumption which is happening. Now because of all the online activities, increase in online activities, there is an online surge in the online frauds. Because now the attackers also know that we are sitting online, we are spending a lot of time online. There is also a big chance that they are also targeting us to carry out online frauds. Now, what are the online frauds? I will show you some of them. There are many more attacks, but these are the most popular ones which have been going on for some time, which we have seen, which many people have got affected worldwide, not only in India. Worldwide, many people have been affected by these attacks. So we'll see one by one. We'll see. Sorry. Okay. So this is the EMI moratorium fraud. Okay. So based on the request of the Prime Minister, most of these banks were said that you please defer receipt of EMI, give them a moratorium period of 3 months. And everybody said, okay, fine. The banks also agreed. They gave a period of 3 months for people to. So they had to make a request to the bank saying that please give us time of 3 months to an extension period of 3 months. So attackers got a new way out. They said that okay, so they will call you up. They said that okay, if you want to, we are taking a request for your moratorium. You please share an OTP with us. So what they're essentially doing is they have got some information of you. They are performing an online transaction for which they require an OTP, and they will ask for that OTP. So the user, the general person, thinks that okay, the bank is so nice of calling me and saying that let me give this OTP to defer my EMI payments, but the OTP is not for deferment of payment. The OTP was for an online transaction. So this prompted all the banks, State Bank also, so this is the image that you can see of State Bank of India, which had to come out and say that, okay, please do not share your OTP. You are not supposed to share OTP. You are not supposed to give all the details. We are not asking for OTP if you want to extend your moratorium. But by the time this could come out, people, the hackers had made a lot of money out of this. Okay. So the next is again related to this was the PM CARES fund. Okay. Now this was very unique. So the PM announced that we will take, so the people could donate some money to the PM for which would go towards this fighting of this virus which is there in India. So and a UPI handle was made, PMCARES at SBI. This UPI handle could be used by people to pay money to the PM Care Fund. Now look at the beauty of the mind, how people think. They created multiple UPI IDs with similar sounding names. One fellow went to the extent of creating an ID called PM Care at SBI. So there was only a difference of one S in between. So the PM Cares was the original, PM Care was the duplicate. Okay. So these kind of ideas were created and people did not realize. They thought that okay, we are doing some good work. We are transferring money to the Prime Minister's fund. We are giving our bit to the society, and all the money, some of them reached the correct UPI handle. The rest of the money went to the wrong UPI handles directly into the accounts of the attackers. The big fraud which was carried out, and unsuspecting people were taken by this, and lot of money got transferred to these accounts. Again, it prompted the government to come out to come with notifications saying that. So there is a notification from the government, that is this piv.gov.in. They have come out with this. So this Press Information Bureau of Government of India, they came out with this handle saying that all these IDs are fake. The only one original ID is PM Cares at SBI. So even the next image that you see is of Hyderabad police. They also released a set of tweets saying that these are the wrong UPI IDs. But by the time this could come out, crores of money were transacted, crores of money were went into the account of these attackers. Okay. Lot of people who thought that we are doing some good work were left with just nothing, and they felt cheated only because they did not use the correct ID. So the next is, so this is a COVID-19 tracker app. Now this app was available online. This app was being used to tell, so if I want to know in my location or the place where I stay, around my location, how many people are infected with COVID-19. So the app promised that if you download the app and you select your location, we will tell you around your location, around where you stay, what is the number of people who have been infected, so that you can take some care. Once you download the app, you give them the permissions, you install the app, and what happens? You are infected with the ransomware. So the image, the second image is of the ransomware. Now what was the ransomware? So the ransomware was, so once you install the app, you give them the permissions, the ransomware is going to encrypt your entire phone and then ask you for ransom or ask you for money to decrypt that phone. So the image that you see was the message from the attacker that we have encrypted your entire phone. All your data has been gone. Now it is all in my custody. If you want your data back, if you want your phone system back, if you want everything back, you pay me in bitcoins, or you pay me in whatever. So whatever that demand that he has created in that bitcoin, you have to pay him, and then only you get your data back. One small app that we saw could lock out your entire phone. And now when we are sitting at home, we are wholly dependent on our phone for communication, communication with our family members, or communication with our office people, or any other person that we want to communicate. And in this situation, if our phone gets attacked and locked, a very tiring situation for many of them. Lot of people downloaded this app thinking that we will find out people in my location who are infected so that I can be safe, but then they were not safe and they had to face this kind of a ransomware attack. Next in line was a very famous antivirus got launched, stating that launch this antivirus and we will protect you. So see the how innovative people can get. So they went to the extent of creating an antivirus. So this was called as a Corona antivirus, which stated that you download the antivirus and we will help you to protect your system from and you from the virus, from the coronavirus. And a lot of people actually downloaded this free, so-called free Corona antivirus and installed in the systems. And what it did was infected the systems. There were a lot of ransomware attacks which got installed, which got infected the systems. Lot of personal data or confidential data was lost from these systems only because of these kind of attacks. A lot of systems got infected with malware, with viruses, with keyloggers who were trying to log all the keystrokes that you were that you were typing in your keyboard. All the information was being captured by the attackers to carry out further attacks. Okay, so this kind of a popular antivirus was also doing the rounds, and still it is there. Many people still who do not know, who are not aware, are also downloading these kind of antiviruses. The next is a free message that many people got, that Netflix, now because we are there in lockdown, we need some entertainment, we need some time to spend. So Netflix is giving a free pass for their platform during the period of isolation. Okay, and there was a link which was given for which a user was expected to click on that link, and the free pass was supposed to be downloaded. Now these kind of SMSs were there. Many people, as this message was sent on the 21st or the 22nd, the day when the lockdown was announced by the government, and lot of people were returning from their offices that, wow, chalo, we'll get a free Netflix connection, we can watch movies, we can watch different types of entertaining programs during this period, and they all clicked on these links. But did they get anything free? Nothing. All that they got was some malware, some ransomware, free of cost. So Netflix was not giving anything free, but all the malware and the attackers attacked into the systems free of cost. Next is email messages from WHO stating that we are there to save you, please help us to help you. And there is an attachment in that email. That email, many of the people received from the WHO official mail ID, and they were asked to download that particular safety guide or safety survey in order to help WHO to prevent this kind of virus from spreading. But what was there in the attachment was nothing but a malware, which was there to steal lot of personal information from your desktops or from your mobile. Lot of these emails are being sent across the world, across countries. Many people have received such emails. Many people thought that, okay, now this virus is new, let us see what WHO has sent us. They downloaded the attachment. Maybe some antiviruses caught them, some antiviruses did not catch, but they all got infected because of this virus, which came supposedly from the WHO email. Okay, so such emails are still going around. A lot of these email providers are now started detecting and marking them as spam, but the damage was already done. Crores of rupees were siphoned off only because of the malware which got attacked into the systems. Okay. So next is one more message which was going around, one more SMS which was going around asking you for your symptoms. Okay. So here, so the message that you have received a new message regarding the COVID-19 safety line symptoms and when to get tested in your area. Please click on this link to find out. Now again, this link was a malicious link. So the link would open, they would be asked to enter their email ID, password, or any other personal information, and nothing would happen, but lot of their information was transmitted to the attackers. Okay, so many of these kind of SMSs, many of these kind of messages were floating on the around people, and many of unsuspecting people have clicked on this. Okay. So you would have also seen in today's newspaper, a lot of people are now getting ransomware attacks, asking them for, so these are called as sextortion attacks. So what is happening is, a lot of people are getting emails or from attackers saying that we have recorded what all that you were doing on your laptop, which all websites that you have visited, which all. So, and they also said that you have been watching lot of porn, lot of pornographic material, and we have recorded everything. If you do not want to give all this information in the public, you please pay us some 1,000 or 1,500 bitcoins, and we will not make this public. Else, within one day, we are going to make all this information public. Lot of these kind of people have been, so, and they're going and filing a lot of police complaints. But now the police is also busy in the other critical activities. They do not have time to look at these kind of complaints from people, and people are fearing, and they have started paying the ransomware, only fearing that all online activity will go into the public out of embarrassment. So actually, if you see all these cases, what all the attacker is doing, they're only playing on emotions. They're only playing on our fear, the fear of the virus, the fear of public, the fear of our information going public, and they are benefiting from this fear. They are benefiting from the empathy that we are showing by paying some money towards the treatment of this virus. So all these factors they are playing around and trying to get benefit out of us. So even in this tiring time, when the entire world is under lockdown, when the entire world is facing the threat, they are the ones who are least bothered about what is happening, and they all that they want is to make money out of this entire thing. Okay. So if you see the sectors that have been targeted out of these attacks, okay, the attacks of the primary sector, the biggest sector that has been attacked is the medical, okay, the sanitizers, the PPE, the blood, the cures, this entire sector or this entire kind of websites or kind of apps are the most affected apps, the most affected systems around the internet. Okay. If you see how people want to find a cure, so the people who log on to the internet, go to Google and find out, okay, what is the cure for coronavirus? What is the Ayurvedic cure, or what is the cure that we can do at home? Or what is the best medicine for coronavirus? Or from where I can buy a mask, or from where I can look at things. So all these different things that we search on the net, and a lot of websites, malicious websites that open if you, I don't have the statistics, but at least about 50% new URLs which were created in the last 3 months, more than 50% were related to the coronavirus. And all these websites, new websites, these false websites, all that they had, some had genuine data, some had a lot of malicious content, lot of malware, which got downloaded into your systems as soon as you visited those websites. Okay. The second most affected was the finance sector, the insurance, the loan sector, because everybody is bothered about their finances, everybody is concerned about their banking system, and some businesses were continuing. We all were looking at net banking for completing our transactions. March was the year ending where we had to close a lot of transactions. So a lot of this finance sector was also attacked. And the third widely used was the education. Because this coronavirus came at a time when a lot of schools were having their exams, the board exams were going on. A lot of schools shifted to online education, online tools, online mechanism of imparting education. A lot of collaboration tools similar to the Zoom or GoToMeeting or any of these collaboration tools where people could get together and chalk out their business strategy, chalk out their whatever were the future action points. A lot of people are working from home. They needed tools to collaborate with your employers, with the employees. So these entire sectors were badly affected and badly targeted. Okay. So this was all about the threats that were there in the market. Many more are there. I have not covered all of them, but these are the most popular ones which were prevalent in India. And many more are there. Many small, many are unnoticed, many are unreported. Many do not even know that they have been attacked unless some money has been transferred or some data has been copied from their systems. So these are the most popular ones. Now we talk about how do we protect ourselves from these kind of attacks. How do we protect ourselves, our data, our family members, our children from these kind of attacks? These attacks can affect anybody. It can affect each and every person, even a very smart person who knows a lot of this, who knows how to protect themselves, can at some point of time also get attacked, because the hackers are very smart. They are playing very smartly, and there are many such people who have been attacking. Okay, so I'll take you through some very basic, simple steps. Nothing new. Many of you already know all of them, but many of us do not implement it or do not practice it. Okay, the first is beware of the phishing scams. What is phishing? So phishing is basically you get an email, or so the mail that I showed, the WHO mail or the SMSs, something giving free of cost. These are all phishing mails. Phishing is basically they are trying to work on our emotions, trying to work on our urgency, trying to work on our the free time that we have, and trying to get some data, some information, some personal information from us, or trying to attack into our money. Okay, so these kind of phishing scams are everywhere. Nothing new to COVID 2019. It is already there since a long time. Many of us received those Nigerian frauds emails that have come from Africa saying that my uncle has expired and he has left a lot of money for us to. So and I want your help to take all that money. I'll give you some share in that money. Or we get a email saying that this is the photo of Sai Baba. Please share it with 10 different people and good luck will come on you. I don't know whether that good luck comes or not, but bad luck usually comes because those emails all contain nothing but malicious codes or malicious viruses which goes and affects our system, and we are helping the attacker to also infect 10 more people who receive that email. Okay. So first and foremost is understand what is a phishing scam, understand and protect yourself from these phishing scams. Okay. Don't believe whatever that you see from that email. If there is a link that has been provided to you, please do not click on that link blindly. Inspect the link. Find out if the link is looking genuine or not. Find out if it is taking you to the correct website or not. Many times these links will take you to a similar looking website. So suppose it's HDFC Bank, it will go to a page which is similarly looking as HDFC Bank, but it will not be HDFC Bank. If you see the URL, it may be a different thing. Okay, so many other aspects. Do not go by the urgency of the email. They may try to press upon you that okay, it is very urgent, somebody is dying, we need a lot of blood for you, this, that. So they'll create a lot of urgent situation. They'll create the signature may be wrong. The signature that is there in the email will look very different. The language may look very different. There may be a lot of grammatical mistakes. So these are small ways of finding out how you can how you can make out a phishing email. It is best not to rely on these mails and simply delete them off. Don't even, it may look very tempting. You may be getting so many things free, but nothing comes free on the internet. With everything free, you get a free malware or a free virus which is going to infect your system. Okay. So first and foremost, you can protect a lot of your future data loss, a lot of your personal information loss, a lot of your identity loss only if you are aware of these kind of phishing scams. Next is the most commonly used thing on the internet is your password. Okay. So secure your password. Secure, do not share your password. So there are certain do's and don'ts with respect to your password. So change all your default passwords. Now what are default passwords? Any system that you buy which is going to get connected on the internet, whether it is a laptop or a desktop or a router or a mobile phone, they all come with a default password. So if you buy a new router and you want to set up a Wi-Fi in your office, if it's a D-Link router, it may be admin is the login ID and admin is the password. Now many of us do not even bother to go and change the default passwords. We let that password be there as it is, admin and admin. Now the entire world knows that a D-Link router has admin as the login ID and admin as the default password. Now if you have not changed it, they are making it so easy for the attacker. So if he has to enter into your systems, if he has to enter into your network through the LAN or through your Wi-Fi, he already knows the password of your router, and from the router he can get access to all your entire systems and simply log in. So even your Windows system has administrator as the login ID, default login ID and blank password. So when you buy Windows or when you install Windows, it comes with a default administrator ID and a blank password, which was supposed to be changed, which was supposed to be, so administrator ID is supposed to be, you can say, disabled. A new ID was supposed to be created with administrative rights. So that they are making it difficult for the attacker to log into your, to look at your login ID and password. Okay. Change your passwords regularly at frequent intervals. Don't keep the same password for all your, many of us tend out of your emails, out of your net banking system, out of everything you are supposed to log out before you close your session. Have strong passwords. So I do not have to emphasize on this uppercase, lowercase, special character, at least 8 to 10 characters. All these have a strong password for your devices and online accounts. Okay, the browser will also come muted. Okay, so I got unmuted in between. So use the remember password facility only if you trust other users who are going to use the same system. Many of us in our offices or now even when we are working from home have one system which multiple people are going to use. Whether it is and somebody will have to mute their mics. Okay. So many of us use a single system. So if you are supposed to use your remember passwords facility in your browser only if you trust the other users. If you do not trust, do not store or do not save any of these passwords into your browsers. You could use two-factor authentication if possible, so that you have an additional factor to authenticate you. Okay. So some don'ts are do not use the same password for everything. Don't store your password in unsecured locations. Do not disclose your passwords to anybody. How so important it may be, how so urgent it may seem, please do not disclose your passwords to anyone. Don't enter your password when you're accessing over a free Wi-Fi or a free internet that you have been connected, whether of your neighbor or whether of some other system or another airport or railway station, whatever. Please do not enter password when you have unsecured internet connectivity, and do not fall for the phishing mails. Okay, do not click on unknown links. Next is secure your video conferencing software. A lot of things have been said about this on the internet last few days. So Zoom is one such system which was very popularly being used and surged a lot. A lot of people started using Zoom for their online meetings. A lot of corporates are relying on Zoom for their employee and employer interaction. Lot of bad news and good news was about Zoom and all the other online video conferencing systems. None of them are secure, but none of them are insecure totally also. Zoom is receiving a lot of negative publicity of late, but now they have also come out with security measures on how to protect yourself. Okay, so don't. So whenever you receive a meeting link, do not share these publicly to everybody. So suppose you are getting into a con call or a video conferencing with your employees. People are working from home. You want to give some instructions. So ensure that on the link is shared only with those people and they do not make this public. Otherwise, anybody who has this public link would also become part of this meeting with or without your knowledge and get access to some confidential information. Okay, so do not share the link publicly. Use trusted apps or websites only for video conferencing. See, like there was a Corona antivirus, there can be some malicious video conferencing software which may be available on the internet, which may be free, and people think that okay, let us use this for our video conferencing needs, but in the end you may be losing a lot of your confidential information or data that you have been talking during that calls. So whenever you use these kind of meetings or online collaboration tools or video conferencing tools, they have two options: either you log in through the browser or you are supposed to download a web client. Okay, so as far as possible, use the clients within your browser. Do not download the software. Do not install the software, because once you install, you never know what all that they have been doing in the background. Okay, if you have to install, if you have to download and install, please ensure that you are downloading it from the correct website and a legitimate website, not from any other free website. Okay. And if you're taking screenshots during the meeting, if you're taking screenshots during the conversation, please do not share them over social media. Okay. So I hope it is going on properly. If there is some thing that is not visible, please let me know over the chat so that I can modify it. Okay. Anybody has any questions can also put it on the chat. I will try and answer it either at the end or maybe during the conversation. Okay. So the next most important thing is secure your network. Secure the connectivity that you have created between your home and your office. Okay. A very important part of your entire security is your network. You are using the internet to communicate to your office systems. You are using the internet to perform your video conferencing. You are using the internet to log on to all the news websites, all the other websites, all the social media. Okay, so it is very important to secure your network, secure your systems that you are using for connecting to the internet. One very easy and reliable method is using a VPN. So VPN, a virtual private network, is a connectivity between your home system and your office system using the internet, but it is creating a tunnel, an encryption tunnel using the internet. So in the diagram, if you see, so there is a home system, there is an internet cloud in between, and then there is a office system. So this is going to use the internet, but it is going to create a secure tunnel between your laptop and the office systems, so that an attacker who is sitting in between may not be able to get access to the traffic which is traveling between your system and the office system. So VPN, Microsoft Windows already has a feature of implementing a VPN. You could use that. If you do not want to buy use the Microsoft VPN, you could buy professional VPN tools which are going to help you to create secure communication between your home systems and your office systems. Not only now during this lockdown, VPN can be used on multiple occasions when you want to securely access your office network from outside, from anywhere. Maybe tomorrow, once the lockdown is over, once we are back to our normal life, we may want to access our office systems from anywhere, sitting at client office or any other location. We could use a VPN to securely communicate to our office systems. Now, since we are on the internet, we are sitting at home, we are going to use the same Wi-Fi connectivity from home, which the other devices in our home, the other smart devices or IoT devices, so Internet of Things is full form of IoT. So all the devices which also connect to the internet. So whether it is a smart speaker or a smart TV, smart fridges or smart systems which are now all getting connected to the internet, you are using the same Wi-Fi or the same connectivity to log on to the internet. Now, if your smart speaker or a smart TV has been compromised, through that same network, even your laptop or your systems can get compromised. Okay, so it is best to create a separate network for your IoT devices, for all your smart devices, and create a separate network for your communication devices, for your mobile, laptop, desktop. Create a separate network. Create a separate network for your IoT devices. Now, what is going to benefit is that if your IoT device is compromised, only one segment of your network gets compromised. Your other systems do not get compromised. Our laptop may be secured, Windows may be secured. If you are using our office laptop, some kind of security may be already be there, but our IoT devices are not so secure. Many of the manufacturers do not release security patches, or they may release, but we have not updated the systems with the latest security patches, and they may still be compromised. So in the diagram, I have showed how you can segregate your network simply by having two separate routers. Both of them connect to one internet router and have two separate networks. You could achieve this even with one router. You can create two different networks within the same router and create two different segments for people to for your different devices to connect. This is going to help you a lot to prevent if your smart systems have been compromised. It is going to help you to not to help you to save your other systems. Okay. So avoid open or free networks or open or free Wi-Fi, however lucrative they may sound, however free like they may appear, but nothing is free on the internet. We all get lot of free malicious viruses free along with these free things. Okay. And last is secure your Wi-Fi router. I'll come to that later, how you can secure your Wi-Fi systems. Secure your devices, the devices that you are using to connect to your so the laptop, the desktops, the mobile phones that you are using to connect to your internet or to connect to do your work. If you are using a corporate machine, if you have got a machine from your corporate office, then chances of the security may be more. But now if you are using your office machine, you are using your home machine, your own personal machine without any security, and you are storing a lot of your personal, lot of your client data, lot of your confidential data, lot of your communication with your office colleagues. You are all storing them on your personal machine, which has lesser level of security than your corporate or an office machine. Then you are at a bigger risk. So you need to also secure your desktops and laptops. Use corporate machines wherever possible rather than using your personal machines. If it's not possible, please ensure that you know whatever these small tips that I am showing you, if you are able to implement it, nothing like it, you can implement it and secure your machines. Do not mix your work activities and leisure activities on the same device. So we may download a movie on the laptop, or we may be using we may be accessing social media on that laptop. and at the same time we are also doing our office work. That should be avoided. As far as possible, do ensure that you do not open these malicious links or download software or download free software, gaming software on the same laptop on which you are doing your office work. This is going to help you to secure your data that is there from the, so even if your system is affected, it is your home system which may not have a lot of confidential data, and your office data may be secured. If you have to use the same machine, you have no choice, you are left with only one laptop, ensure that your local disk is encrypted. So encryption, now encryption within a Windows operating system, encryption is also given free. You can encrypt your entire hard disk so that even if the data has been compromised, data has been copied, it may not be of any use to the other person. Encryption will help you to protect your data to a large extent. Okay, and even if you are within your house, ensure that you lock your computer when you get up, because you may be doing your office work, you may be very secured, you may be very knowledgeable, but children at home, some other person at home comes and accesses the downloads games from the websites or visits of the website which are not supposed to be visited, and unsuspectingly they may also compromise a lot of your data. Okay, so it is better to lock your systems, create different login IDs for different people. Even within a Windows operating system, you have uh, you can create multiple login IDs, so that in your login ID only your personal data is left. You can create a separate login ID for your children or for any other people who are accessing the laptop, so that they are able to you are able to protect your data in one location. Okay, so this is about securing your devices. The next is update your operating system with the latest patches. Okay. Most importantly, buy only genuine operating systems. I know many of us still use the pirated operating systems of Windows only because it is free, or only because it has been given to us by our vendor, who has whenever he installs the Windows, he has given it along with it. But please, after this lockdown, please ensure that you buy genuine operating systems, because all the operating systems which are pirated, which come from the internet, come with a lot of free viruses, lot of free malicious software sitting inside it, which you do not even know that they are running in the background. Okay, so ensure that you have genuine operating systems, and when you have genuine operating systems, okay, you need to also keep on updating them with the latest patches. So if it's a Microsoft Windows based operating system, every Tuesday Microsoft releases a set of patches, a set of updates, security updates that have to be implemented within the operating system. If you are using a pirated operating system, then you will not get the security patches, you will not get the security updates, and the attackers use these very vulnerabilities. They find out these very vulnerabilities that are there in your operating system to carry out an attack onto your system. So it is best to buy genuine and update your operating system on a periodic basis. So many people complain that, oh, system gets slow, or systems become slow, but you have to test your patches before you implement. Ensure that you download on some machine, trial machine, test it, and then you can implement in your actual machine. Okay, so these are about operating systems, very very important. Next is secure your email communication. If you are using Gmail for your office communication, Gmail is mostly secure. There are no issues because the emails are also encrypted while we are using Gmail. But if you are using any other mail apart from Gmail, then you also have to ensure that your emails go in encrypted format. There may be settings in your email system where you can ensure encryption of your emails. Okay, if you are using an office mail system, then you can also ensure that you are using encrypted emails. Now 90% of these attacks are being carried out only by a phishing email or by a phishing SMS. Now SMS we can't do anything, but if we secure our email, we are able to prevent a lot of these cyber attacks from happening. Okay. So email security is again very important. Next is the most many people already know about the antivirus. We all are using some or the other antivirus in our system, but your computer viruses can spread as good as your human virus. So now we are all scared about the human virus corona, which is spreading by touching. Similarly, your computer viruses also spread just by, if you do not have clean systems, or you open malicious mails, or you visit untrusted websites. They spread very rapidly. Okay, so invest in some good antivirus, a good internet security antivirus, which will also provide you internet security, USB drive scanning, periodic scanning of your systems, updating your systems at multiple times. So all these features of an antivirus you are supposed to use, and use it religiously. Ensure that you have a genuine antivirus and not a pirated antivirus, and you update them at periodic intervals, and also scan your systems at periodic intervals. Only having an antivirus and not scanning your entire system will also not serve the purpose. Next is secure your internet connectivity. Secure how you are connecting to the internet. So earlier I showed you are supposed to secure your network. You can have multiple Wi-Fi routers. For secure internet connectivity, the best method is implementing a firewall. So a firewall is a device which is between your local network and the internet. So it is like the guard sitting at the door, which is allowing only legitimate traffic to travel outside and only allow traffic to come inside your network from the internet. There are hardware-based firewalls, there are software-based firewalls. Windows also has an inbuilt firewall which you are supposed to enable. But Windows firewall is very elementary and a basic firewall. You could go, although now it may not be possible to purchase a firewall, but in future, whenever, so we have to be prepared now for these kind of situations, for work from home kind of a scenario. So please implement any good firewall. So there are a lot of logos of firewalls that I have used on in the presentation. Anyone you can choose depending on your budget, depending on your requirement, but ensure that you have a good firewall which is segregating your network from the internet. A lot of attacks can be prevented. It is like a security guard who is looking at each and every person which is coming in or going out. So it is keeping a check on every traffic that is coming in and going out. You can achieve a lot of security through this particular firewall system. As of now, while we are sitting at home, we can implement the Windows-based firewall, or if you have a good antivirus, your antivirus also comes with an inbuilt firewall, but they are not configured or they are not activated. So you may be needed to activate your firewall, configure your firewall to ensure that only allowed traffic is allowed to come in and go out of your system. You can also set up proxies. You can also set up content filtering on your firewall to ensure that unrequired websites are blocked from being accessed from your system. So firewall is a so nowadays they are called as UTM, Unified Threat Modeling Devices, so which can help you to look at all the threats to your system and protect your systems from these kind of threats. So basic level, entry level firewall can start anywhere from 40 to 50,000, and it can go up to crores of rupees of higher end firewalls. Depending on your budget, depending on the features that they are providing, you can implement. So even a basic level firewall for a chartered accountant firm is sufficient to ensure that we are able to regulate our traffic. Next is wireless security. securing our Wi-Fi connectivity. Okay. Everybody knows now that we are connecting to Wi-Fi, and having a secure Wi-Fi is of prime importance, because all our laptops, the desktops is possible, or the mobile phone of all our family members, the other IoT devices, they're all getting connected through Wi-Fi through the same router, and we are using this Wi-Fi for all our personal communication and also for our office communication. So ensure that you secure your Wi-Fi system. Okay. Ensure that you have a strong password mechanism for your Wi-Fi. You have WPA2 PSK standard for security in your Wi-Fi, which is the highest level of security, not been cracked till now. Like I mentioned separate earlier, you could use two routers for segregating a network, or you could create a guest network within the same router. So many of these routers have a feature of creating multiple networks. One network for your office work or for your commercial work, one network for all the other people to in your house to connect. Within the same router, you could create two different networks for people to connect, so that people who are on one network, even if they are compromised, your other network is safe and not affected. Okay, so that is very important. Many of these routers that we use, that we have been using at homes, they all have this feature of creating a guest network or bifurcating a network into different networks. Very easy to do, nothing complex. If you feel, so there are a lot of tutorials or a lot of videos for how to achieve this is available on the internet. A little trial and error can help you to do this, achieve this activity. Not very difficult to do. Okay. Next is a very important aspect now, because we are every day using mobile to access emails, to access office work, to access, even some people now use mobile to log on to their office systems, to log on and to perform some of the other activity. To check emails has become very popular, and because of this, lot of apps, lot of these malicious apps are being now made for the mobile, because mobiles have lesser level of security. There is no username, password, there is no encryption in the mobile, and a lot of our personal data, lot of our confidential data is also stored. Lot of such data is also stored which we do not want others to see, which is our own private data. So all the data, if it is compromised, could be very detrimental to our well-being. So first and foremost is, if you can try, there are many antiviruses also which are available for the mobile phone. You could implement any one of them. I just shown two pictures of two antiviruses. There are many more. Whatever best that you think is good for your mobile, you could implement. Ensure that these antiviruses encrypt all the data on your mobile phone. Ensure you have a good password protected mobile, so that even if it is physically lost, physically stolen by somebody, they do not get anything out of the data. Use only genuine and trusted mobile apps. Do not download apps from other sources, from different websites. Ensure that you download apps only from the Play Store or from your Apple App Store. Do not download apps from untrusted sources. Okay, because these untrusted sources, so what happens is, if I am an app developer, I make an app, I have to submit it to Google Play or to the App Store. They have their own verification process. They have their own process of verifying that the app is not having any malicious code, or it is not going to compromise any data, and then only they put it up for download on the app stores. So there is one layer of security which is ensured if you download from the Play Store or App Store. Although there are still many apps which bypass the security measures of Play Store and App Store and find themselves on the Play Store, but ensure that you only download apps from genuine sources, that is from the Play Store and App Store. Do not download from untrusted uh, uh, websites or untrusted sources. Even within your Android phone, there is a setting on allowing apps to be downloaded from untrusted sources. So that setting should be clicked, and you should not be able to download from untrusted sources. Next is backup your data regularly. Now, backup is a no-brainer. We all know the importance of the backup. We all know how important this data backup is. And at some point of time, we have all lost our data or some part of our data because we do not have a good backup, or we had a backup, but the backup was say a month old or 2 months old or 1 year old backup, and in the last 1 month we have not taken a backup, or backup has failed, or the backup was current but the software is outdated, or we are unable to restore the backup. Different problems. So ensure that we have a good data backup solution. One good way is also backing up onto the cloud. So you can use a Google Drive or a Dropbox or any other cloud storage device to store your backup, so that if we are in such kind of a situation where suddenly next day we have been told not to go to office and we have to work only from home, at least we can use this cloud system to download our data and to use our data. If it is secure or not, that is a different story. Whether this cloud is secured or not, many are not. So you have to take your own judgment on how you want to store your backup data. But please have one copy of your backup outside your office or outside your systems, so that you are able to access it in emergency at any point of time. Ensure that your backup is current, your backup is working, your backup is so you also supposed to restore your backup and check whether whatever that I wanted to backup is actually backed up or not. You may find out that a particular folder which is very critical is not backed up, and you are under the impression that data backup is happening and I have everything with me, but no, the backup may not be there. So you also have to keep on testing your backup on periodic intervals to ensure that everything that you wanted to backup is getting backed up. If you want to store this data on the cloud, or you want to store on a remote system or on a removable device or any other medium, please ensure that you encrypt this backup data. Okay. So apart from encryption in our systems, in our laptops or in our desktops, we also need to encrypt this backup data. Because if this, so suppose we are storing our backup on Google Drive, and we somehow the password has been given to somebody else and he gets access to their entire backup data. But if it is encrypted, he may not be able to make use out of it, because he may not know the decryption key. So it is very important when you are storing your backup outside your office premises on the cloud or any other system or any other external media, please ensure that your backup is also in encrypted format. Okay, so that nobody, even if it is compromised, you will not be able to make any sense out of it. Then review your backup logs for completion of the backup to ensure that all your files are getting backed up at periodic intervals. So already seen, move your data to the cloud. Now it has become very important when we have to do remote working, we have to work from home. Many of the chartered accountant that I interact with say that we are not able to get license for our software, or the software is installed in our office environment and not working on my laptop because I do not have the license. So whatever ways and means is for us to evaluate, and one good method is to use the cloud-based accounting software, or cloud-based GST software, or cloud-based return filing softwares. Many of them which are available now and helping us to achieve our businesses by logging onto the cloud. So now again, data security becomes a very big question while we are using these cloud-based systems. But you could look at these cloud-based systems if you want to work from anywhere, because now all that you need is a laptop or a desktop or even a mobile phone and internet connectivity to connect to these cloud applications, and you have your data at multiple multiple people can use your systems from multiple locations. A very efficient way of achieving our professional commitments and achieving our day-to-day business by going onto the cloud. So what we have also heard is that the lockdown may get extended for further periods, and it may take at least 4 to 6 months for everything to come back to normal. But we cannot afford such kind of lockdown. So see, 1 month, 1.5 months, still we have been able to survive. But beyond this, it will become very difficult for us to look at these to continue our business in this environment. So these kind of systems or cloud-based systems can come to our help. So once you have implemented these security measures in the future, you also need to test them. You also have to test whether your whatever system that you have implemented, whether your network segregation is working or not, whether operating systems are getting patched or not, whether antivirus is actually getting updated or not, whether antivirus is actually working or not, whether anybody can attack into your router or not, whether you are changing your passwords at frequent intervals or not. So all the security measures that we have been understanding till now, you can test them. Ensure that you test them at periodic intervals so that you have a sense that okay, fine, now everything is secure. If you are unable to test, you can have external assessment agencies like us who could come and help you. The most important is educate. Educate your employees, educate your family members, educate your children, educate your spouse, educate everybody in your family who is accessing the internet or who is accessing these kind of systems, apps, websites on the internet. Whether it is a teenager, whether it is a any kind of small boy who is so many children that you see nowadays, they have everybody gets a mobile phone and they simply go on to Play Store and download all the possible games that are available over there. They sit and download all of them. Why? Because they find it because they're very attractive, colorful, but they do not realize by downloading these apps and games what all is getting downloaded free of cost in the background. So education is the only way, creating awareness is the only way where we can help them to understand the risk of these kind of systems, the risk that these kind of apps or untrusted websites can bring to us. If you keep on educating, you achieve a lot and you can prevent a lot of these attacks from happening only because now the users are aware. They know what is expected out of them. So there are some lot of benefits. You have a good understanding of security, improved privacy and compliance to the laws of the country. You can avoid cost and brand damage because of security incidents, and you have improved reputation and organizational trust. So if your clients also see that okay, there is no problem in their system, they have secured all their data properly, there is a lot of trust and a lot of reputation building for you, and you have an increased awareness amongst your employees, amongst your family members on information security. So that is the small measure that that I wanted to share with you. So cyber security, just like ABC, there is no difficult thing. It is only always be careful. Attackers are there sitting at the fence, waiting to attack into your systems, waiting to attack into your mobiles or into your networks or into your data. But we have to be careful at all points of time. So that is all from me. And now I am open for questions. If anybody has any questions, you can post it on the chat and I will be happy to take those questions. So here are my contact details. If anybody is interested for further information, you can always get in touch with me and I will be able to help. Thank you very much. So Bhavin bhai, are there any questions?
Hello.
हाँ
Sir, check your WhatsApp.
हाँ
Check your WhatsApp. We have posted question.
अच्छा question on WhatsApp. Okay, I'll check. Okay, so the first question was pertaining to whether these fraudulent UPI IDs are still active. No, these UPI IDs have been blocked, but then every day some new UPI ID is getting created. So we have to be very careful because we do not know. So IDs which I have shown, which got found out, which were identified, have been blocked, but certain IDs which have not been identified have still not been blocked. So we have to be very careful of them. Okay. So how do we verify whether so next question is, how do we verify whether the particular website is fake or trustworthy? Uh, it's a very difficult question to answer. We have to use our own judgment to identify whether a particular website is fake or not. But very small things. So if you can recall the slide where I showed how to identify a phishing mail, so we can look at the grammar, the way the things have been presented, to identify whether this site is looking suspicious or not. In case of any doubt, it is always best not to disclose any information. See, if it's just a read-only website, it's okay. You are reading some information, that is okay. But if the website asks you to enter a lot of your personal information, login ID, password, bank details, then you have to be very careful, and you have to check the URL. You have to check the web address to ensure that this website is not fraudulent. There are certain tools also, there are certain websites also which are available on the on the internet, which can tell you whether a particular website or a particular news is fake or not. I will tell you those kind of websites are so one is called as Webkoof, WEBQOOF. Webkoof is also a site which will tell you whether a particular news or a particular website is fake or not. There are many more tools which are available which can tell you whether these websites are fake or not. Okay, so there is a Supreme Court judgment also which came over the fake news, and the Supreme Court has asked the media to ensure that this fake news and fake websites are not made popular. Okay, so the next question is, how much Zoom app is secure and what steps to make sure your meeting and document are secure while using Zoom app? Okay, so Zoom is getting a lot of negative publicity of late, only because of it became very popular. So Zoom has so now the Home Ministry, so there's a cyber coordination center under the Home Ministry, cycod.gov.in, which is released an advisory on the security settings to be implemented within the Zoom app to make it more secure. Now, how secure it is a matter of judgment. Even the GoToMeeting that we are using, or the Zoom, or any other, for that matter, any other website that, or any other video conferencing software we use, nobody is 100% secure because they're all giving free. Now, why would they give these systems free? It's only because they're getting some benefit out of us. So we have to ensure that using these video conferencing software, we have to use it on a system which does not have a lot of our confidential information, so that even if your system are compromised because of these websites or because of these tools and softwares, there is nothing to lose. But if you use the same system for all your net banking, and all your net banking passwords are also stored in a browser, all your data, critical data is on the desktop or on your My Documents or on your C drive or D drive, then it is very, you should not use these kind of tools and those kind of systems. But according to me, none of them are secure. But as long as you use it in a proper manner, they can give you good security also. Okay, so next question is how to create two systems with one single router and one service provider. Okay, so in your router, if you log on to your router, in your router you can create two different networks. So the most of the D-Link router and the TP-Link routers have a feature where you can create two different networks. One network you can give a different IP range, the other network you can give a different IP range. These two networks will work independently of each other. Person who is connected to network 1 may not be able to connect to network 2. Person who is able to who's connected to network 2 may not be able to connect to network 1. So this is a feature within your router that you will have to look at. I may not be able to explain because each vendor has a different mechanism of creating, but there are a lot of videos. So first identify the brand of the router that you have at your home, and you could do a Google search, or you could, there are a lot of videos also available on how you can segregate your network within the router. Next question is how to encrypt data on the system. Okay, so Windows has an inbuilt encryption mechanism. I forgot the name, but Windows. So even Windows have different versions. So the Windows that we get when we buy a laptop, the pre-built Windows is called as the Windows Home version, which does not have the encryption feature. If we buy the professional version of Windows or the ultimate version of Windows, the enterprise version of Windows, they come with a free encryption mechanism. So it is inbuilt into the Windows. So the Windows is called as BitLocker. So if you have the enterprise or the professional version of Windows, you get a feature called BitLocker. You have to simply right click on your drive and you may get a feature of BitLocker. So first you have to enable the BitLocker, and then you can use that BitLocker to encrypt your entire drive. So in that case, only you will be able to access the data on the drive. Okay. So next question is how safe is Endless as an operating system? So I am sorry, I have never come across this Endless operating system, so I may not be able to answer this particular question. But if it's a Linux-based operating system, if it's a Unix-based operating system, it is far more secure than a Windows-based operating system. Okay, so that all that is I can tell you about it. I have not encountered. I'm hearing it for the first time, so I'm sorry I won't be able to answer that question. Is eScan a good antivirus? So all the antiviruses, I showed you images of various antiviruses. All are good and all are equally bad. There is no good antivirus. There is no bad antivirus. Each and every antivirus has its own feature, has its own functionality. So whatever that you have implemented is very good. It is the best, because we cannot sit and compare features between different antiviruses. So a same virus may be detected by one antivirus, may not be detected by another antivirus. But another virus may be detected by the second antivirus, may not be detected by the first antivirus. So none of these antiviruses are good enough. But if you have a genuine, a branded, a licensed antivirus, it is sufficient. They may be able to take care of 90% of the security will be taken care of by these antiviruses. Is Windows Defender enough, or do we need an additional antivirus software? So Windows Defender is a pure antivirus, which is purely for your Windows-based operating system. My personal recommendation would be to go for a third-party antivirus software and not to rely on Windows Defender solely. Although Windows Defender is serving the purpose of an antivirus, it is achieving the purpose of an antivirus, but it may not be very effective compared to the other antiviruses, commercial antiviruses which are available on the in the market. The second better benefit that you get is suppose you buy a Kaspersky or Norton antivirus, they have additional features like an inbuilt firewall, a proxy, ransomware detection systems, so which Defender does not have. So only by buying, and now the antivirus is very cheap. So maybe for 650 or 700 per machine per year is the rate of an antivirus. Not very expensive, but having a commercial antivirus, you get many more features which Windows Defender does not have. So my personal recommendation would be to have a trusted third-party antivirus over and above the Windows Defender. Is GB WhatsApp safe? I do not get the meaning of GB, but WhatsApp is safe or not? For personal communication, for fun, for entertainment, it is good. But I would not recommend it for office purposes or for client communication or for communication with your employees or employers or for transmitting confidential information or sensitive personal information. I would not recommend it through WhatsApp, because again WhatsApp servers are not in India. WhatsApp is being controlled by Facebook. Facebook, we all know what is their sole objective, is harvesting all the data that we are generating over the internet. They are all harvesting it and using it against us, or using it to target advertisements or to target uh, communication towards us. Now, even the Facebook systems, whether how secure they are, we do not know. So it is best not to use any kind of personal or private information or confidential information through WhatsApp. For entertainment, for fun, for jokes, and for all the other activities, it's okay. You can always use it. Next question is, can we backup data on OneDrive provided by Microsoft? Yes, you can backup data on OneDrive. Again, it's a cloud-based solution. You could back up to it and store your backup on the cloud. It is a good, effective solution. So for checking fake websites, it is called WebQoof, WEBQOOF. It is not CCOS. It is WEBQOOF. So maybe I'll type it over here so that so I have typed it in the message tab. Maybe some you may be able to see it. Okay. So I think I have received the same questions on the chat. Okay, the last question is, by downloading GoToMeeting, we are getting from QQ software that it is not safe continuously. What is the remedy? So like I mentioned now, see, like QQ is marking GoToMeeting as unsafe, but I don't know whether, see, I am using Kaspersky. Kaspersky has never marked it as unsafe. So different viruses have different ways. If you feel that it is invading your privacy and it is invading your data, then it is best not to use it. Like I mentioned, you can use the browser plugin to log in, so that only your browser is compromised. You do not have to download an app. But if you feel, so now here it is a risk. If you feel that you want to live with a risk and you want to enjoy the benefits of using GoToMeeting, then maybe you will have to accept the risk and do it. So it is better to use to log on to these kind of systems through laptops or through desktops which do not have a lot of your commercial data. Okay, so a lot of your confidential and personal data. So then you can use it, because then you have nothing to lose, because you're not using net banking, you're not using any of these systems through on your laptop. So then you can use it. So that is good. Okay, so I think I have answered all the questions. If there are any more questions, you can let me know. So I hope it has been effective and I have been able to guide you through your implementation of security measures in your laptops and desktops. Over to you, sir.
Actually, Bhavin bhai, we are not able to hear you.
Bhavin bhai, you can go ahead.
Bhavin bhai, we are not able to hear you. I think there is some problem over his mic. I think Pranay bhai, this was a very good session. We came to know about the basics of internet security that is required. Especially when we are not there at the office, there is no control of us, physical control of all the systems which are there at our office. And at home, we are working with a network which is comparatively weak in security. Our office Wi-Fi's are firewalled, but not our home Wi-Fi's. So this has given us a very good insight that what precautions we have to take at professional as well as personal level. And it was a very good and fresh learning experience for us. On behalf of all the participants, I would like to thank you once again for the session and the time which you have invested for presenting this topic.
Thank you very much.
There is just one last question which we'll be taking. Just someone has put up a question. If we are backing up data on OneDrive, what would happen after Microsoft license is expired? There is one question from one of the participants.
Okay. So if your license has expired, so then even your data goes away. So before Microsoft closes your OneDrive, they will give you some time to download your data back from your OneDrive. But it is better if you want to use it in the future and you want to continue using it. It is better to renew your licenses. And if you don't want to continue it before a license expires, you can download your data. They may give you some grace period up to which you are able to download your data. Beyond that, your data will be lost.
I think that's it for today's session. Thank you once again. And I hope everybody has enjoyed the learning program. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.